Hello and welcome to a very special broadcast of NEWS9 Live. I'm Aditya Kaul. Joining us in the studio is a very special guest, the German ambassador to India, Dr. Philipp Ackermann. Thank you very much for joining us. You know, India and Germany has had a very robust relationship, and in the past few years, we have signed agreements. We have, Dr. Jaishankar going there frequently. At the same time, a lot of visits from Germany to India in the last 1 year. We had the Chancellor coming here also for the G20, a much talked about G20 amidst the Russia-Ukraine war. And how do you summarize this kind of a relationship between India and Germany, and what are you looking forward to?
So Aditya, thank you very much for having me, and let me say that I think we can say with pride that India-Germany relations are at an all-time high right now. You rightly mentioned the various visits we had last year. Actually, the Chancellor was here twice in 2023. We had a very successful G20 presidency led by a very able Indian government. And we had many other visits from ministers, and that shows the depth of our relations. I think India is a key partner for Germany. It's a strategic partner. We are very much looking forward to this year's intergovernmental consultations that will take place hopefully in the second half of the year. We have to wait for the elections actually, but we'll then fix a date, and then the Chancellor and a couple of ministers will come to Delhi to sit down with their Indian counterparts and discuss our common agenda. And I will tell you, it's a long agenda. It's a lot to discuss about, because our relationship not only goes back a long time, but it's also full of different projects, full of different ideas, and it's, I can tell you with all honesty, a great pleasure to be German ambassador to India, because we are doing such a great work here.
One of the key issues is, of course, a lot of Indians are in Germany. They're professionals, they're skilled labor, and there are a lot of students as well. What is Germany really doing to ease the immigration really of these skilled labor and professionals under different special categories?
Thank you very much for this question, because that's one of our main topics at the embassy right now. You are right when you say we have almost 45,000 Indian students in Germany right now, which is the biggest non-German group of students, and the interest is growing.
Yes.
Many of them will stay in Germany because our liberal immigration laws say that once you graduate in Germany, you have 18 months to find a job. I will tell you, it doesn't take 6 weeks to get a job in Germany right now, because we have such a strong need for skilled labor and good people. And in addition to these people, we are now recruiting in India, after having concluded the mobility partnership with the government. We are now recruiting for those areas of professions where we need people. We are recruiting. Now our immigration laws have been liberalized recently. Now we have a very, very open immigration policy, and I can only recommend those of your countrymen and women who want to earn money abroad to look at Germany. It's full of opportunities, and it's relatively easy to get there.
You know, for both India and Germany, climate change is a big topic of discussion. It has come under the bilateral talks as well, and at the global level has been a key issue as well. How is New Delhi and Berlin looking at this common challenge? How do we fight it, and how to fight it together?
This is, you say the right words. You have to fight it together, because you can't fight it alone. Without India, we will not be able to fight climate change, or to look at it or fight the consequences of climate change. So Germany and India concluded 2 years ago the so-called Partnership for Green and Sustainable Development, a partnership that comes along with a lot of money, and where Germany and India define projects to sit down, very concrete projects to make climate change less of an issue. And I will tell you 2 or 3 of those, because they are so concrete and I like them so much. So for example, energy provider in states get money in order to change their energy mix from fossil to more renewables. Or public transport in cities like the metro in Ahmedabad or Mumbai, or Bangalore, they get credit lines in order to expand their network as quickly as possible. So we have a very, very concrete partnership working together hand in hand in India to tackle this maybe the biggest challenge of our lifetime, which is climate change.
You know, at the same time, you spoke about immigration, but at the same time, there is, of course, the visa problems that the common people sometimes face, especially post the pandemic. it has taken probably 30 to 50 days to obtain the Schengen visa to Germany. Has there been any relaxation, any steps that the German embassy has taken?
Also, thank you very much for this question. We have been really improving our services greatly. So I think in the last half years, the waiting time was a week, maybe, not more. Now it's the main season of travelers, and when you have a big amount of people coming, then the waiting time goes a little up. But I think we have developed a system that reacts so well to these waves of visa requests that I think all in all we are good. I would wish that right now, as we speak, we could reduce the waiting time a bit. I would be happy to have it across the country at 1 week, let's say. Now we are at 4 to 5 weeks, but I think in 2-3 weeks this will change, and you will see. And I feel it every day, the complaints about visa go down rapidly. So I'm very happy that we are better.
Ambassador, shifting focus to the trade front, how do you see the trade currently and the potential of reaching $100 billion target? At the same time, the European Free Trade Agreement that India had recently is seeing a potential of $100 billion. Your views on these things?
So the German-Indian trade is more than 30 billion a year, the trade volume, which is by far the biggest of any EU country. It's a good start, but I think the potential is enormous, so there can be much more. And I would say that the FTA would be a game changer for German business. So the moment you have an FTA with India, German business will look much more favorable at India than it does already. So my government is pushing hard for this FTA negotiations. My government really supports the EU negotiating with India, and we do hope that in the not so far future we will conclude this agreement. Meanwhile, you will be happy to hear that there is growing interest by German companies coming to India.
Ambassador Ackermann, Israel and Hamas war has now entered the 7th month. We've seen a lot of bloodshed, a lot of killings. In fact, local sources in Gaza claim that more than 35,000 deaths have happened since 7th October massacre in southern Israel. Now, your foreign minister recently said that Iran has been isolated. Is that so? Because currently we are seeing a new conflict developing between Iran and Israel, a direct confrontation, which of course began with Israel's attack inside Damascus. How do you see this development? How do you see this war expanding perhaps in that entire region?
So you are referring to last weekend's attack by Iran on Israeli soil. Several hundreds of missiles and drones were fired, an unprecedented attack. So far, nobody has, not Iran has not attacked Israel directly. This is a very unfortunate, to say the least, development in this conflict. We are very concerned about it. It's dangerous. It's bad, and we have to find ways and means to de-escalate now. We have coordinated with partners, with the US, with the G7, with our European partners, and we have made it clear that we expect now the greatest restraint from all sides. And let's hope that the noises we get right now, which seem to be a bit milder, a bit less confrontative, will prevail. So I think first and foremost, it is about the de-escalation of what we have seen during the weekend. At the second step, we have to see what happens in Gaza and how this war is going to unfold. And there, my government has been very clear, like many others, we expect a quick ceasefire and humanitarian aid into Gaza so that the suffering population can be supported.
You talk about de-escalation, but there are several countries who are supporting Palestine and people in Gaza who claim that Germany has been a steadfast supporter of Israel all this while. So what is your expectation from Benjamin Netanyahu at this stage? And finally, how will the de-escalation really happen? Do you see an end? And how long is Germany prepared to, in fact, support Israel?
So you will be finding in us, in Germany, always a great supporter of the right to Israel's right to exist. We will, because of our very difficult history, always be one of those who say, Israel has the right to exist, and we'll have to support everything to make it exist in a way. But at the same time, the German government has always been very clear in what it found worth criticizing with the Israeli government. And when you read our recent statement when it comes to the Gaza situation, my foreign minister was very clear saying that this is unacceptable. We need more humanitarian aid. We need a ceasefire. We can't go on with destroying this piece of Palestinian land and killing people. So my government is pushing hard behind the curtains to get the Israeli government to understand that now is the time to scale down and not scale up.
On the other hand, there's a simultaneous second war, closer home, that's underway between Russia and Ukraine. And the German Chancellor has said that the peace in Europe is dependent on support to Ukraine. At the same time, Germany has now sent in the Patriot defense system and more missiles to Ukraine. So where do you see an end? Is this an endless war that is only continuing?
So, the situation is that a very big and powerful country, the biggest in the world surface-wise, apparently feels that it doesn't have enough land, and invades a small, rather helpless country. And this is a threat to the whole world, basically, because it puts in question the whole international rules-based order. So supporting Ukraine is not only about supporting Ukraine, it's supporting the international rules-based order where sovereignty of states is sacrosanct. You can't touch it. And therefore, our belief is that supporting Ukraine in this war is a just cause. We cannot contribute to a victory of Russia that takes a big chunk of Ukraine as its territory. So you will see our support lasting for Ukraine. I'm not very optimistic that this war will be over soon, but I think our determination, our decisiveness to support this country is basically in order to prevail the European security architecture as it stands right now.
Ambassador, since the war began, Germany has taken in the highest number of refugees.
True.
Do you now see a situation where Russia is, of course, gaining ground and there's offensive action that continues, will lead to further number of refugees, perhaps in millions, coming to Germany? And is Germany prepared for that? You have the Marshall Fund, but one thing is taking in refugees and then the reconstruction of Ukraine.
It's a very big question. You are right when you say we have over 1 million Ukrainian refugees in Germany. Not only Germany, it has to be said, Poland has received a lot of Ukrainian refugees, also other countries. So the whole of Europe is basically concerned because we all live with these Ukrainian refugees. I think this is a very, very fair possibility that Ukrainian refugees will, if Russia really expands its territorial claims in Ukraine, that more refugees will come. But you will see that the Russian gains in Ukraine are very little. Actually, it's centimeter by centimeter. So it's not that we see right now a great Russian offensive that takes grabs lots of land. That's not the case so much. So basically, we see soldiers in trenches fighting each other in a very, very tedious and extremely bloody war right now. And it's a very unfortunate situation.
And how do you see India's position all this while? Because there's been a confrontation. Dr. Jaishankar has been very vociferously defending India's independent position. Do you think that is pragmatic? It
is pragmatic and it is completely understandable. I want to say that Dr. Jaishankar also has openly said that there is disagreement between India and Russia on this war, because I think the Indian side also sees that the war is detrimental to everything, to economic and trade routes and trade exchanges. So, but that India has a different relation to Russia than Europe has. It's not in the immediate neighborhood of India. I think this is how it goes between states and should be acceptable.
Elon Musk's Tesla is reportedly manufacturing right-wheel drive vehicles for the Indian market in Germany's Berlin, with about 8,000 vehicle cars that could potentially sell in India under India's new EV policy. How does this opportunity now bode for Germany?
It's a very interesting new law. We have seen it. We hope actually that this law is also valid for the German vehicle building OEMs like Mercedes, BMW or Volkswagen. That would be great. That is not only a lex Tesla but also a lex e-vehicle producing companies. But as you rightly say, Tesla has a big production site near Berlin and is producing for the Indian market, and that shows that there is, again, a very good link between Germany as a manufacturing place and India as a consumer market.
But how do you see other German auto brands like Audi, BMW and Volkswagen viewing Tesla's entry into India from a competitive standpoint?
Yeah, I think, but competition, it's all about competition, you know, in the business. It's not, we are not protectionists. They have to cope with that. They had to cope with it in Germany. You know, Tesla has built up its big production site in Germany. And they have to, you know, be very quick when it comes to, you know, offering good deals on e-mobility. But I'm very confident that the German car producers, with their experience and their decade-long, you know, manufacturing skills, will come up with good solutions. We have Mercedes in Pune that produces already now the first limousine, e-vehicle limousine, and that's the first German e-car in India comes from Pune. It's a rather expensive car, I have to say. I can't afford it, but it's a good car. So I've seen it, I've driven with it. So this is an Indian Mercedes, so to speak, driving with a battery.
You mentioned Mercedes. So the obvious question that comes to our mind is that Mercedes has allowed for use of Tesla to use its charging infrastructure in India. Is this another big opportunity in making the collaboration between Germany and US automakers for the Indian consumer, and that will help immensely?
Yeah, I think it's a good step to, you know, open up for the charging infrastructure. But you will see that, you know, the more e-vehicles will enter the Indian market, the more you need a working charging infrastructure. And actually, not unlike Germany, India is still a long way to go to get this infrastructure. We are starting to develop it, but it's countries like Norway, for example, have a much better charging infrastructure, and that needs planning, and it needs, you know, in a country as big as India, it needs really a strategic approach. But knowing my Indian friends, I'm sure they'll have it and they'll come up with a good solution.
Well, let's hope so. But one final question. We thank you for coming to this studio, but the obvious question that comes to every Indian's mind, that we are in the election season, and is Germany and you as Germany's representative in India monitoring these elections very closely? Because most pollsters as of now are predicting a huge victory for Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the third time straight. How keenly are you observing these elections?
So let me say that I'm very glad that you didn't ask me what the results will be, because this is really diplomatic, very shaky grounds. I would not be able to...
I can put you on that spot.
But yeah, I will assure you that we'll look very closely at these elections. We are excited to see them. This is the biggest election in the world. It's a festival of democracy. We will see through 7 weeks, we'll see every part of India voting. We'll be very excited to see the results. It's a fantastic time to be in India. So I wish all the concerned Indians good luck. Go to vote. That's very important. You know, that's what we say to our people also. Go voting for whoever you vote, but it's very important to vote. It's a fantastic opportunity and shows how deeply entrenched democracy is in India. So great moment to be here.
But Ambassador, you met Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he has had conversations with the Chancellor. What kind of a understanding or the relationship or the rapport do they share? And do you think that whoever comes to power, perhaps this relationship will continue and only broaden in the times to come?
The Prime Minister and the Chancellor have a very sound and good relationship. It's a relationship between two people who really care about their countries, and I think one can say easily that the Prime Minister has a clear vision of an India he wants to see, and that my Chancellor understands very well, and it's a very, very good ground of get along in the future, and I'm looking forward to whoever wins. Indo-German relations will be blossoming and being further developed.
Well, let's hope for the best. Thank you so much to Ambassador for coming all the way to the TV9 Network's NEWS9 Studios in Delhi NCR, and let's hope that the relations between India and Germany really broaden and deepen in the times to come.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.